Hello Anglophonians! Today we look at another adventure of the Smurfs. And this one is a very good example of how you can bring very serious topics into comics that were originally intended for children. And therefore those comics are not only for children but for everybody. And I think this is one of the things that make the Smurfs so famous. Yeah, it's all about power and the abuse of power and the responsibility that comes with power. Today's story is called King Smurf. The story actually begins quite harmlessly. Papa Smurf is in his laboratory. He needs some spurge for an important experiment, but finds that his supply is empty. He tries to replace the ingredient, but that only results in his experiment blowing up in his face. He realizes that he will have to travel far to find the milkweed, but he desperately needs the ingredient. The next morning he sets off. He tells the Smurfs that it will probably be a few days before he gets back. The Smurfs shouldn't do any nonsense until then. But how does the saying go? From your lips into Smurf's ear. It doesn't take long before problems arise. The Smurfs are eager to play, but Brainy reminds them that there is still work to be done. When Papa Smurf is away, he decides what to do. The other Smurfs don't agree with this, and suddenly everyone wants to decide. This even goes so far that a fight breaks out in the village. Finally, the Smurfs come up with the idea of simply voting on who should be in charge. But on the first try, everyone votes for themselves. So the vote is postponed and each Smurf wants to convince the others to vote for him. An unnamed Smurf thinks about how he can convince the others. For the sake of clarity, let's call him Politixi. Politixi sees Brainy talking to a Smurf. This Smurf is very annoyed by Brainy's talk. Politixi then goes on to say if he were elected, it would be forbidden to annoy others. The other Smurf replies that he would then choose Politixi. And he realizes that all he has to do is promise something, and the Smurfs will vote for him. First, Politixi talks to some of the Smurfs themselves, promising that there will be cake every day, or that lazy Smurf has only to work when he wants, or that Politixi likes Jokey's prank gifts. Then there is a real campaign event with posters, a parade and speeches. Politixi is first, and his speech sounds suspiciously familiar.
Tomorrow you will go to the polls to vote for the person who will become your Smurf. But who will you Smurf? Some Smurf who doesn't Smurf any further than his fellow Smurf? No! You need a strong Smurf you can trust without a Smurf. And that Smurf is me! Some, I don't want to Smurf names here, will say that I'm just after Smurf. That's not Smurfy. I want to be the Smurf of all of you Smurfs, and if I have to, I'll Smurf all the way to Smurf so that there's Smurf in Smurf Village. I'll Smurf that for you. Smurfing is my motto. That's why I Smurf you. Smurf me! Cheers to Smurf Village. Cheers to me!
Brainy then wants to give a speech, but no one except Grouchy Smurf listens to him because Politixi invites the others to have Smurfberry juice. Then election day comes, and of course Politixi wins the election. And from that moment on, strange customs take hold. To distinguish himself from the others, Politixi dresses in gold fabric and demands to be called King Smurf. He sets up a personal guard and has the Smurfs, whom he enlisted to work, build a palace for him. He lets himself to be carried around in a sedan chair and increasingly oppresses the other Smurfs. We are seeing the rise of a dictatorship. But not everyone agrees with this. A resistance organization is formed with the goal of deposing King Smurf. The resistance builds a second Smurf village. As more and more Smurfs join the resistance, a confrontation between the two sides seems inevitable. King Smurf was published in episodes in Spirou magazine. The first episode was in the September 10th, 1964 issue. The last in the May 20th, 1965 issue. There was only one page per issue, which was because Peo was chronically overworked. Meanwhile, his Smurfs had become so popular that he couldn't save himself from advertising contracts. And as his wife confirmed, he just couldn't say no. The concept of the story of King Smurf was designed by Peo and editor-in-chief Ivan Del Pot, but Peo needed help drawing it. To do this, he founded his own comic studio in 1964. However, his first assistant Valtteri had difficulty drawing Smurfs. Luckily, Peo had met a young artist from Switzerland who was doing an internship at the publishing house, Claude de Ribaupierre, alias Derip. Derip was born on August the 8th, 1944 in La Tour de Pays in Switzerland. His father François was already a painter and sculptor. After studying art, he began his internship at the Dupuis publishing house. He worked on the Smurfs, but later also created his own works, such as The Adventures of Attila, note Attila is a dog, or The Adventures of Pythagoras and Co. Note, Pythagoras is an owl. Since he had developed a passion for Native Americans, he later created the characters Yakari and the trapper Buddy Longway. A major work of his is the story Joe, published in 1990, which is about AIDS. Derip currently lives in his hometown of La Tour de Pays. As far as the story is concerned, Peo and Ivan Del Pot have achieved a great success here. The speech that Polexi gives is so typical of politicians and gets a special twist with the Smurf language. We also see the typical campaign promises and how Polexi, after becoming King Smurf, manages to keep people in line by giving them nice positions, such as Captain of the Guard. King Smurf is more relevant today than ever before. On the one hand, children will of course ask questions about the politics that influence all of our lives, and you can give them a valuable lesson about elections and election promises without pointing fingers. Of course, the analogy can be extended further because the tricks are always the same when someone tries to gain power. But wait a minute. What does this remind me of? One individual seizes power. Many suffer from it, some move elsewhere, and in the end, there is great chaos? Oh, indeed. And when greed and villainy sail the sea, you can bet your boots there'll be treachery. Yes, so there you have it. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, even in the Smurf village. Think about it. We have some time. And until we meet again, surround yourself with nice people, stay safe, stay healthy, and see you. Calling for Commander Jaden James. This is Jarmo. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, one moment. I'm transmitting some pictures to you. Let's see. Okay, you should receive them now. And here they are.
I don't really want to ask, but I guess I have to. Is that the fifth sister?
Yes, she was found dead in her room, on her bed, as seen here. Poisoned.
How could that happen?
You can only guess, just like me. There was increased security and the room was locked. Somehow, someone brought in the poison. Nobody can explain it. And now there's only one sister left.
You know what? I've had enough now. I myself said that we shouldn't get in the way of the authorities, but there is something rotten in the state of Denmark. Is there any way you can contact the sixth sister?
That could be difficult. The fifth sister was found dead 3 days ago. The sixth sister has been missing for about a day and a half. Nobody knows where she is.
I can't believe that. And what does the security service do?
They say they have the situation under control.
Something is indeed rotten in the state of Denmark. Well, we've kept a low profile about the situation so far, but that doesn't seem to help. New instruction to you. Do your own research. Try to get into the sixth sister's room. Maybe there will be a clue to her whereabouts.
Do you think I can find something that security has missed?
The way you describe it makes me wonder if they were even serious about looking. This whole thing stinks. See what you can find out.
As you wish. I already have an idea who could help me get into the room.
Excellent. Then carry on. By the way, did you get the memo about the year-end changes?
Yes, I have. I'll be ready.
Very good. Then good luck in your search. Jaden James, over and out.
Over and out, sir. Over and out.